few observations as questions or questions as observations. Taking up on what Harris said, what can we offer, we as left? I have a little bit of problem with it. I don't know if we should aim on offering something. I don't know as far as or how far terminologies as representing help us further. Now there is the problem, of course, with populism, that we move into this direction. We have had a meeting at the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation last year where I opposed actually the notion of a left populism. But I think what is important, what is interesting, is something I observed in the recent months working in Germany, the occupation of public spaces, where we have an ideal collaboration between economic actors and politicians. You see this as there was actually an advertisement campaign of one of the supermarket chains replacing elections. Shop with us, this is the real political choice. I think this is something interesting where we have to look at how this works, this interaction works, and where we have to think as well about possibilities to move in a similar way. We are criticizing mainstream economics, which is correct and which is important. But we are not really looking at political economic alternatives. We are criticizing main actions in the area of digitization. But we are not looking really at ways of how can we use this as an instrument to set up an alternative economic system. Cooperatives instead of sharing economy. Something like this is just one catchword, which goes hand in hand as well with something that I call usually charitabilisation. Beautiful term. We are doing all these charitable actions and we are feeling proud of it as individuals, but there is no movement to say this is actually possibly a germ of an alternative social security system or whatsoever. As I said, only observations, more questions than answers. But there is this, what I observe as generational change. If you look at the main political actors, there are very young politicians in leading positions, which is good. But at the same time, there is as well something that this doesn't fit easily into the system of the representative democracy. I think we have to deal with it, we have to address it, and we have to look there as well at the overlapping between parliamentary or traditional politics and what is going on, what is moving in different directions, into different directions. Simply something we don't, I think, take care of sufficiently, not least because this is something, an observation last week, 2 weeks ago from Poland, where actually it was interesting that I think it was the Prime Minister or his deputy saying values, European values are important, and European values are interests, and this is our interests. This is where they get them. This is where how they get the people. Yes, it is about our interests, and this is what we have to defend. And this is where it spreads across the borders. When Hungary really gained power, meaning Orban, there was this swapping across borders, and Italy, for instance, taking hold as well. Italian populism. I think this is as well a young person, a young movement, where they managed to occupy public spaces. So I'm back to point one, And this is, I think, something where we have to look for ways of setting up as well economic alternatives, which should be political economic alternatives, and not just looking for other ways of increasing growth, securing employment. All important, but we won't get there with the traditional means. Well, I would like to come back on the narrative. And as important as I think it is to talk about the narrative in connection with the extreme right, I think there's another narrative we have to think about as well. That is the narrative of the so-called middle class, and that is the way of how they actually accommodate within the system. There is a strong economic dimension to it. Everybody goes to Amazon and Lidl and Aldi and whatever you have, and here it's Villa or these things, and try to find a way. It's not about the fear. This is one extreme, but trying to accommodate themselves in the system, within the system, and to get by. I think this is as well an important point in terms of individualization, of not developing any perspective. Narrative has to be as well, I think, very much about where do we actually want to go? What can we achieve? We have a development of means of production that is ridiculous. We have wealth that is ridiculous. We can do so many things. We are talking only about ex post redistribution, but we are not talking about the potential that is there. And I think this is something where we have to bring narrative and vision together. Looking at vision not in terms of idealist, voluntarist terms, but in terms of connecting it to what we can do and to how we can actually produce. Occupy the streets. This is what the capital, large, small capital, does. And we are not able to do it. We are not able to defend actually these spaces. And this is something I think where we should invest in our thinking, what we can do, how we can do it with a given potential. And this potential is, of course, the one we have in terms of human resources, access to mass media and the like, but it is as well, I think, something where we have to think about our potentials in terms of objectifying this vision as a narrative for the future.
So